Good evening, boys and girls. It's that time of year. It's the first North London derby. Come on, you Gunners. Tactical Josh is back. Can he sell his tactics to Super Kevin Campbell this week? Let's see. Squaddies, are you ready to get stuck in? Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury squad.
Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. Oh, we love these kind of weekends, especially if we win, of course. Back again for some football talk is my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Come on, Soul. Yeah,
Sorry.
Don't leave me hanging. Hello, everybody. How you doing, squaddies? At ease.
And of course, back is our co-host of Tactical Squad. It's Josh the Human, but is he going to be human today? Will he drop another clanger or a shocker? Josh, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I've got all my excuses out of the way already, pre-show, and officially I'm not going anywhere, North London Derby Day, so I will be watching the match. You know, they're even going to be able to broadcast it. Last night, I'd sat down, I was ready, I was going, great, I can finally watch the Arsenal. What happens? Not bloody televised. Anyway.
Should have gone to the zoo. You should have gone to the zoo.
That'll be my chant now.
Should have gone to the zoo. Good evening, squaddies. Hi, everyone. Welcome back, Josh. Of course, Zeph joining us from Kenya. Remember, let us know where in the world you are, Kenya. I have a filmmaker I worked with once who has the most amazing place in Kenya. What a beautiful part of the world it is. At ease, Newman. Behave tonight. I feel like there might be a yellow or a red tonight, Kev. It is the North London derby. You know, it could get ugly at some point, right?
Well, I'm hoping that they get ugly tomorrow.
Okay, so I found this sweatshirt. I just wanted to do some housekeeping before we kick off with the tactical stuff, right? And I found this sweatshirt and I love it. It's a 79. I wanted to show it to everyone. It's a 1979 FA Cup. If you look at the back, I mean, it just is beautiful. And I thought, you know, I don't want to wait until the fall, winter to put it on. I want to wear it today. What a mistake. I'm sweating like swine right now, just saying, okay? And then also I sold this to Josh and Kev before I came on. I've got a water in a half pint. Lee Judges will be familiar with a half pint glass, I'm sure. And, you know, training myself to just put water in a half pint so it makes me feel like I'm drinking beer.
Does it taste like it as well?
No, not at all.
Just don't clean it after you've had a beer, and there you go. Just don't wash up properly, and you'll be fine.
Hold on a minute, Josh. Hold on a minute. What am I hearing here?
Oh, Kev, we've all been students. We know how to make the beer go round.
No, not you. I'm on about Sophie. Drinking water out of, because it's a half pint. So maybe if it was in a teacup, you'd feel like you're drinking tea. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, pretty much, Kev.
Oh, for God's sake.
Are you sold? You're not sold,
No,
are you, at all?
Not at all, no.
Trying to train the mind. I'm sweating like swine, although I will not take this sweatshirt off because there is nothing underneath. And no one wants to see that. Right. Let's get on with the show, shall we?
I'm intrigued.
Before we... Okay, you're intrigued, but also Uncle Kevin, Vinny, did this for you today.
Oh, I tell you what. Nice one, Vinny. Nice one.
He put on the dicky bow. And look, he's all like so suave that he's got his girl by his side. And he's all like, I'm going to take you out. I'm taking you out tonight, Vespa.
He's out for dinner. Looks like he's out for dinner. He's proper out for a big one tonight. Look, he's got that glint in his eye.
Oh.
He certainly does. Right, enough nonsense. Let's get to the crux of what is happening. It's the North London derby. I think I'm peaking too soon, Josh. I'm way peaking too soon, Kev. I'm too excited. I feel it. I don't want to feel it. I fancy it, and I feel like someone needs to calm me down. I haven't even had anything to drink. As you can see, I'm drinking water. Kev?
Well, if there's anyone to calm you down, it's Josh. He's
Yeah,
the one
there you
who brings
He's
you down
dulcet.
to earth with a bump.
Oh, certainly. Oh, certainly. And what a time for, Arteta to overthink things. This is normally his season where we're going to, normally time of year where we see something go a little bit strange. What are we going to see this time? Is it, Smith Rowe at right back, or is it Maitland-Niles at the wing? But I think, I've given you two options because I'm going in with only one dilemma this week.
Okay.
And that's who starts in our midfield. So
One dilemma.
one dilemma, and that is Sambi or Smith Rowe. And Kev, that is my big question for you this evening. Because to be honest, I think the back five picks itself.
Yep.
Right now.
I agree with you on that one. You've got no problems with me on that one.
Yeah. For once, we've done 4 shows now. We've made it. We're on the same page now.
Yeah.
And then it's what we do with that forward line and the midfield. I think Thomas Partey, Arteta said last night, although none of us watched it unless we were lucky enough to be in the stadium, that Partey said he wanted to play so he could get ready for this game. So I'm expecting he's one of the first names on the team sheet. He said the same about Xhaka as well. Odegaard's, I think he's a automatic starter for us right now. And then Pepe and Aubameyang makes sense. Neither of them played. And then it is the question, Sambi and Smith Rowe, they both played. Do we want to go immediately with that goal threat and try and attack and control the game immediately? Or do we have Sambi in place for a bit more insurance? That's my big question for you, Kev, tonight.
Do you want the answer now or do you want it at the end?
Hold on, Josh, do you want me to put your second option up too?
So my second option is just so everybody else can see, more visual. This is how I'd see us lining up if Smith Rowe was in the side as well as Odegaard. Maybe sitting a little bit deeper. I don't think Xhaka comes straight back in as well. I think the way that Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Sambi, Partey have all played, I think we're at a position now where Xhaka doesn't necessarily come straight back in. That's one that we could see maybe happen. It could be one of the left field things that Mikel Arteta does. But I wanted for North London derby, I wanted to keep my head clear, not overthink things. And I think that's what I'd like Arteta to do as well. Not overthink. We know what we've seen. Just give yourself one option. How do you want to start this game? Because we know what Spurs are going to be like. Spurs are going to attack the wings. They've got those very attacking fullbacks. So we know where the space is going to be when we attack, and that's in behind them. So how do we work out with that midfield to make sure we've got Pepe running at Eric Dyer if he's lucky enough to be playing there? That's the big thing for me is Reguilon and who have they got on the other side now? Emerson Royale. They're the two that are going to be pushing up the field. For fullback, we need to make sure we've got our wingers and fullbacks playing in tandem, which I think is why you don't mess around with what you've got there. You've got the partnership of Pepe and Tomiyasu that's growing. Saka and Tierney, they've played plenty together. So that's the big things that I think we'll see against Spurs. Obviously, we know the threat of Son behind us. So we've got to be careful with that. And of course, Harry Kane is going to be which Harry Kane turns up. We know he's finally, broken his duck for the season. But which one are we going to see? The one that's going to be up for a fight, attacking, Gabriel and Ben White, or is it the one that's going to be getting lost in the midfield, buzzing around Partey's ankles? And I think that's the big thing that we'll be seeing there. Soph, were you going to say something?
So I was just going to lead it in for Kev because the squaddies are, of course, chit-chattering already. And one of the things that I wanted to add to that for Kev to digest on is the midfield is what you've switched up. But after yesterday's game, and Lucy was at the game for us and did a snippet at the end of the game, Josh, everyone was talking about Saka on the right. And I'm not sure that's possible because what would you do with Pepe? But that's just the only other thing I wanted to throw in there because it felt like everyone coming off that game thought and have said in the past that Saka on the right is much more effective than he is on the left. So over to Super Kev.
Could you put up both teams again?
Of course. Okay, option 1, Kev.
Uh-huh.
And also some people in chat, Kev, are suggesting Lacazette over Aubameyang. But maybe it's Aubameyang on the left, Laka down the middle. I would play Saka on the right, maybe put Pepe on the bench. But anyway, that's the first one, Kev.
Yeah.
Here is the second one where Josh has mixed it up in midfield a little bit. Feels nice to have options.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Super Kev?
Well, I look at that and I look that a lot of
This is the first one.
In this game, we're going to need to hold the ball at the top end of the pitch. Because ideally what Tottenham are, they're a counter-attacking side. They will press us, but they are a counter-attacking side. They want you to come and attack them, so then the likes of Harry Kane and Son, Bergwijn, who probably might not be playing or whatever, can use their speed and counter-attack you. Okay? That's why I think somebody like Laka holding the ball up front might work really well for us in this game. And if that's the case, then obviously Aubameyang has got to move to the left. Then it's a matter of Pepe or Saka on the right. So that might upset both your teams. Also, Josh, what I will say is Thomas Partey in midfield alone, I think plays into Spurs' hands. So I've got to go with this partner. I've got to go with Sambi beside him, 100%. And I've got to go with Odegaard. Obviously, he scored the winner in the last game against Burnley. So the only real issue with this side is the front three. That's where we're gonna earn our money tonight. We're gonna earn our money in the front three.
So a lot of people, and JJ just mentioned, Josh, and I'll hand it over to you, that when, after Pepe got his wrist slapped and he came back into the squad last season, he did play on the left. And I think that a lot of Arsenal fans liked that, and he was very effective. You talked about Arteta maybe having a twist to the tail, and he has that in him because he was trained by Pep Guardiola, who loves to do that as well. Can you see a scenario where he might surprise Tottenham and Kev too, like where he might play Pepe on the left, Saka on the right? I can't see him dropping Aubameyang for this match. I just cannot see that happening. It's not going to happen.
Unless there's traffic again on the way, he's not getting dropped. I think otherwise, he's straight in the side. I think one of the kind of liberties I'd take with the formation with the two wingers is that it's one of the positions where you're most likely just to let them switch flanks. If it's not working out for one of them after 10 minutes, they can just change sides. And we've seen Saka doing it for England on the right. I wonder if probably with Lacazette up top, similar to having Harry Kane for England as that kind of target man, rather than Aubameyang, who's trying to look in behind, trying to go past the back line. That's where I kind of wonder if Saka then works in that position off that target man. And then on the left, as we kind of said, that Pepe's there. I remember Smith Rowe being quite good from the left, because he wanted to drift in. It then naturally opened Tierney up. And Smith Rowe has already mentioned about how he wants to get more goals. We've seen him come pretty close against Norwich as well. I think there's an opportunity for him to kind of grab the ball by the horns. I know we've mentioned that, we want to see Smith Rowe breaking into this side, being a starter, especially with Odegaard coming in, that it meant he wasn't necessarily an automatic starter. That I think there's an opportunity for him here. And I wonder if that's what Arteta would go with. And that's why I'd see, the thinking kind of big brain time with Arteta was the one where you have just Partey sitting in the midfield generally with then you've got Smith Rowe kind of coming back to help him, and Odegaard as well, just to bring a bit more creativity to that front front four or five that you've got in the quartet or quintet there. But I can kind of see where you're coming from as well, Kev, because as we mentioned, the fullbacks coming up, if they're leaving that space there, who do you want in that space then running at the centre-backs? Well, if you have Aubameyang sitting out on the wing, sitting in that space, and then there's Lacazette who's occupying the two centre-backs. So one of them's got to go, but they don't want to both go and close down Aubameyang because there's still a danger man in there. It's going to be really interesting to see. But personally, what I've kind of seen and how I think Arteta's dealing with the players who are sitting on 1 year left on their contract. You know, we've seen Leno only playing, playing last night. He's only got 1 year left on his deal. Eddie Nketiah, again, played last night, only 1 year left on his deal. Lacazette is another one as well. Is he only going to give them opportunities when, African Cup of Nations comes around in January, when Aubameyang we know is going, Pepe's going? But right now, is he going to try and get the best out of the players who he knows are going to be here beyond the summer?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. But at the end of the day, you have to play the team who you believe is going to get you the result. And that is the key. Now, if I put myself in, it's difficult to do. So listen to what I'll put myself as the opposition. And I say, who would I prefer to play as a striker? I would prefer, believe it or not, I would prefer Aubameyang. Because one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to deny him the space in behind. We're going to defend deeper. So he has to keep coming to feet. And that's where he's not at his greatest. Okay? And what we do know is when we turn the ball over, we can play through Arsenal, and that's how they've beaten us the last couple of times. That is how they've beaten us at their place. Playing through us. We turn the ball over. This is last season and pre-season. We lose the ball, they pick it up, they play for us, and next minute we find ourselves a goal down. It can't happen. We need somebody up top who's going to get hold of that ball. I think that's really important. So the likes of our more creative players and quality players, etc., can get on the ball in that final third. I think it's really important in this game.
So with that said, don't you think it's important that Lacazette plays because of his ability to hold up the ball, Kev?
That's my point. That's my point.
And then is there the argument as well, does Odegaard need a wingman like ESR who's going to be able to carry the ball a little more?
Not necessarily, because the way the team's going to be built, Sambi's going to be able to join in. And Sambi's a good carrier of the ball as well. But the key to all this is our front three. They're the key. Can we get the correct movement? Because we will have big chunks of the game. Can we be better than we've been in the last few games, creative-wise? Can we carve out chances so we can take the lead? That's the big key. Because you know what? We said the back five, back six, maybe even back seven, if we're adding Sambi to it, picks itself.
So I wanted to put this one up from Tampa Bay for you, Josh and Kev, because I think I'd love to morph into, okay, so if we're saying that this is the team, right? This is the team that we feel most comfortable with. In terms of Emerson seems to, the dude hasn't adapted yet. And to be fair, if it was our play, we would say give him time. Like we're saying, give Ben White time to adapt to being that 50 million signing, right? And who knows, he could have a worldie against us. And there are a lot of people talking about Harry Kane's not in form. We all know he's going to score against us. He loves to score against us. He's going to find his form this weekend. It's a North London derby. But I like this question in terms of the targets, like how we can expose them, or on the one-on-ones especially, and those duels. You know, people are already talking about how's Ben White going to cope with Kane. Well, I say Gabriel's going to be there, so don't worry about it as much. But Josh, what's your thoughts on those kind of duels that we're looking at?
Yeah, I think on the particular one, I know we're looking at Zaha up against the opposition right back. that point, I don't think you get the same result with Pepe, because Pepe's going to want to beat the man on the outside rather than on the inside. And so that's where I don't think Natural kind of matches up with Zaha. We don't really have a winger like Zaha, right-footed, that will cut inside, will use that kind of space, apart from, when we've mentioned him, Aubameyang. Aubameyang's that option. He's the one, not Pepe, because as much as we've seen people calling for Pepe to play on the left, he's not as... I'd see Pepe as more of a finisher than a creator, generally. And that having him, he doesn't necessarily, when he wants to strike the ball, he wants to strike it with his instep. He can't necessarily do that when he's playing on the left. He's got to go outside, and then his only option is really crossing it or pulling it back. I don't think he's got that part of his game to then be shooting. And that's what I want to see from him as well, because we know he's got that technique to be shooting, which is why I'd keep him on the right. So he's going past Reguilon, and it should be Eric Dyer who will play next to Romero. If we're going anything by the previous lineups that we've seen from Spurs right now, it'll be Eric Dyer sitting in the centre of defence. And I can't wait to see that, because if there's a player that ever has a dodgy North London derby in the same way that Harry Kane has a decent one against us, it's Eric Dyer. You can remember all of the occasions up until the point of, I remember, him calling out Aaron Ramsey and saying it was his pitch. And then Aaron Ramsey going up soon later and we winning against them. And that celebration. He's the player that I would be targeting against Spurs. The other one, Ollie Skip, last year, he played pretty well at Norwich down in the Championship, but he's come straight into this Spurs team. And he's another one that, a big game against quality opposition. Is he going to be up for this game? Has he got that quality? Having Odegaard on top of him, basically, playing around him. He's the other one I'd be targeting, because we know the space is going to be there on the flanks, because that's where Spurs want to attack. That's where they're going to break. And to be honest, as Kevin was saying, they're probably going to play through us. I think they're going to play over us. That's it. It doesn't matter who we've got in our midfield if they're just going to knock it over the top. Knock it over the top to Kane, knock it over to the gaps where Tierney is. It's all going to be about Gabriel sliding out, covering his man, or Sambi going out there, covering for Tierney, who we know, one of the great things about Tierney is how great he is going forward. He can be, if we're caught on a turnover we don't expect, be caught upfield. He has got some of that recovery pace, but we shouldn't rely on the fact that Tierney will always get back. So that's the big one for me, because that's where I expect Son to be hovering, is in that space. Tomiyasu, I think we've seen the recovery pace from him is very good, but I think he's also got, he's been told by Arteta that he can sit if he wants, and there will be the options that he'll sit and will sit into a back three if needed. And that's one of the great options by having a player like him right now, is that he's got that recovery pace. And that's where I think he'll close down and shut down whoever's playing out there, which I imagine will be Lo Celso, maybe Lucas or Bergwijn if he's back. But I would hedge my bets on it being Lo Celso.
I think that's Lo Celso needs a right tough tackle to start with, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Big
he's
time.
one of those that, I think Tomiyasu would have known a player like him in Serie A. There's a few of them. His predecessor, Lamela, was out there as well in Serie A. He's a player that get into him tough, and he'll be giving you a red card at some point and giving you that advantage.
Is Tanganga injured? Is he red? He got a red card. Is he banned in this match? Not sure.
No,
Is he?
2 yellows, wasn't it?
It was two yellows, right?
Yeah,
so he's
available.
Yeah, he's a good player, to be honest with you. I
But
think
he's
that he's young. And he can make mistakes. Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, because of course, and actually the Tottenham fan in the chat who's listening to the show is giving some good comments and talking about how he's more afraid of Lacazette than Aubameyang, which I find really interesting. And I think we've seen Laka and Ober score really goals out of nothing as well, especially in that 4-2 at the Emirates, that wonderful, glorious night where Torreira took his shirt off as well. That was such a fantastic North London derby. But then talking about how their defence is fragile right now, and they do have some issues. They started off so well, 3 games, I think 3 wins, right?
3 1-0 wins as well.
And is Nuno conservative enough that he's more conservative than Arteta, Kev?
I don't know. I don't think it's conservative. I just think it's what suits their players. I honestly believe Son is a counter-attacking player. I don't think he's a front foot player. Son, like Aubameyang, he needs space to run into, and then he's got you where he wants you because he's running at you. I think if you kill the space, then it's a lot more difficult for Son to score goals. Although, listen, no disrespect, but Son is a fantastic player. He really is. Good goal scorer, good player. He creates and he scores. But if you don't allow Son to have the space, then it's a lot more difficult for Son to score. So I truly believe Nuno sets Spurs up as a counter-attacking team. And if they are on the front foot, they will press you. You saw last week against Chelsea in the first half. Chelsea didn't start great, but they pressed Chelsea, shocked Chelsea a little bit, the way they pressed them. But this is the thing. You can't sustain it. They couldn't sustain it. And then Chelsea adjusted. I mean, they've got the quality to bring on a Kante, haven't they? I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, the bench is ridiculous. Bring Kante on, and the game changes all of a sudden straight away in the second half.
I mean, right now, Son is their most dangerous player, right, Josh? And in the chat box, the squaddies and everyone are talking about the most fascinating matchup could be between Tomiyasu and Son for many, many reasons. People were also talking about how Tomiyasu seemed a bit gassed after the last home match. And of course, he's adapting to a totally different league, different pace, different requirements. Do you think that's, of all the challenges that we're kind of talking about and the doors that I mentioned to you earlier, is this the one that you're most fascinated with?
I think it will be interesting in terms of how and where Son plays, because I think it's one of those, if he doesn't get any change out of Tomiyasu, you know Nuno switching him to the other side, and he's then going to be running at Gabriel instead, or at Tierney. And I think that's the thing that will be really interesting, is how they're going to combat this. And got to remember, this is Nuno who beat us twice last season as well with his Wolves.
Exactly.
Side.
I was going to bring that up, but yeah,
there is a big old pinch of salt. I have to go to the kitchen, or maybe I'll go to the sea, because there's plenty of salt in there to take the pinch for the other game. You know, the 2 red cards, the David Luiz red, and then the Leno red for, I can't remember what he was doing when he went out there and just decided, screw it, he's going to play handball instead. Yeah, that's the massive pinch of salt for it. And if you have a look through some of the lineups, it is quite glaring. Some of the players that made it into those starting 11s that aren't even at the club anymore. So I think that's going to be one of the things that Nuno, to a point, has got our number. But I think there was expectations that he had at Wolves. At Wolves, he could have sat back. He didn't need to attack us. I think in a North London derby, there's a different set of requirements that Spurs fans, and I'm sure the Spurs fan in the chat can confirm, that they won't be happy with just sitting back for 90 minutes and not even trying to lay a glove on us. They're going to have to attack. They're going to have to be positive, because it's a derby and because there's an expectation now that, you know, Spurs fans will be thinking they have to finish above Arsenal now, because they've done it 4 times in the last 5 seasons. There's that opportunity now to really attack us. And there is that kind of change of expectation that they should be a bit more free-flowing. But I think we're going to have to see, because I'm trying to second guess what Nuno's going to do with this side.
Yeah, you know, as much as we're talking about Arteta maybe throwing a spanner in the works, Nuno can do that too. And Kev, the $64 million question, and it was raised at the very top of the show by everyone in chat box. And there are some that still believe that Arteta is going to start Xhaka. Do you think there's a chance that this happens? And if so, what does that mean for us? And then we'll wind it back to Josh. If Xhaka does start this game.
Well, we're asking a few questions at once there. Is there a chance? Of course there's a chance. Because his suspension is over now. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I don't think it's going to happen. I honestly don't. Because just coming out from nowhere, out the blue. Sambi has played in the week. Maitland-Niles has done a decent job in there as well. Even with Partey was on the bench, Sambi and Maitland-Niles done okay in the midfield. I just don't see Xhaka starting. But can it happen? Of course it can. And you know what? If it did happen, obviously there will be a lot of disappointed people, a lot of angry people. But the key is winning the game. I think that's the key, isn't it? It's about winning the game. I don't expect it to happen, though.
Yeah,
and
say...
Kev, we've won games without him.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
Do you remember what I said? I was hoping this suspension would see Partey and Sambi play together and be the death knell of Xhaka.
Yes.
But they haven't even had to play together. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. They haven't even had to play together. Sambi replaced Partey against Burnley. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Maitland-Niles and Sambi started against Norwich. Partey came on. So Xhaka's at the back of the pecking order, in my eyes. And I really hope that's the case.
Yeah, and I'd just add that one of the benefits of, or not benefits of us playing in Europe is the gaps between games as well. You know, in a 3-game suspension, that would probably mean, oh, you're probably back in a week and a half. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Xhaka won't have played in a month if he starts in the North London derby. That's how stretched out 3 games have been for us. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big things that I think points towards the fact that he probably won't play. He might come on. I think that's an option.
Yeah, that's
comes off the bench. Comes off the bench maybe after 60 minutes. I'd probably see him playing in the Brighton game instead. I think that's the game where we might see Xhaka back for maybe a bit longer, but that's in another week's time. Mm-hmm. You know, building back up his match fitness, that's where I'd expect to then see him. But if he starts the game, I think that's going to be one of Arteta's curveballs, because there's a lot of people in the chat are saying, I'd be surprised if he's match fit. Obviously he's going to be physically fit, but I don't think he'll be match sharp. And that's what you need in a derby. You need everybody. It doesn't matter in terms of quality. It's all about sharpness in that kind of early stages of the game, because it's going to be all about trying to wrestle control of the game.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Mark, no, Sambi's 21 years old.
Okay,
no
so
don't worry about him.
Listen,
He's
guys,
fine.
get your questions in for Josh and Super Kev. It's the North London derby. There's 2 games that we earmark every single season, and there's 2 games that you are not allowed to ever lose every single season. Kev has played in them. Kev, before we get to some of these questions, real quick, because we love it when you take us inside the mind of the player, was the preparation the same for these games?
Of course
it's
not.
Never the same, is it?
Of course not. No chance. No chance. 2 weeks it was. It was 2 weeks to build up, even before for instance, before the Burnley game. Mm-hmm. Gooners, every Gooner you meet or you speak to is talking about the North London derby. That is always going through your mind. Obviously, you play Burnley, you win. Great. Then you go into the Wimbledon game. Whoever's involved, remember, you're preparing for Wimbledon. There are players who are not playing, main players who are not playing. They're preparing, they're watching all the footage, they're doing all the bits and pieces. And you can't wait to get Wimbledon out of the way so everybody is all together and focused on Spurs. It is so important. We know it's so important, that connection, because you have an opportunity to have won over your rival. That's big. As a player, that's big.
I mean, for us as fans, this is just don't lose the game. You know, it's okay. I mean, there's so many, you know, we draw every now and again, right, Josh? But you just can't lose the game. I do want to put this comment up because it's funny a little bit. So we have a Spurs fan who's being very cool and very respectful in chat. And Ethelston, maybe Saka can see the light and do a Sol Campbell in the other direction. No,
he means Xhaka. He means Xhaka.
Oh, he meant
He
Xhaka.
means
Spelling
Xhaka. Yeah, he
mistake.
means a spelling mistake. He means Xhaka.
Here you go. You can have him.
You can have
was
it
gonna-
with
I was
our
gonna say,
blessing. With our blessing.
Didn't Sol go to a more successful team that had won trophies? And I think we've won more
Yes.
trophies in recent times than Spurs. So if anything, I think it will be their best player coming back.
That's good banter. That's really good banter. Okay. There was a question up here for both of you. People want to know what you're doing for the game, Josh. You're definitely not going to the zoo, are you? Don't
I
get Vinny.
have got nothing planned other than I am watching the football.
Nice one, Josh.
There will
Nice
probably be a power cut. That will be my luck. But no, I've got a double derby weekend, so I am not leaving
wow.
because it's Palace Brighton on the Monday night as well. So yeah,
Fantastic.
it's gonna be a hell of a couple of days. So if I'm not on the next week, it's because I've seen 2 losses.
And then you've got us. I think we'll be handing Brighton their first Premier League loss next week, maybe.
No.
They've got a game on Monday, so you don't know.
And
Yeah, I know.
Brighton lost against Everton
Yeah,
at home. What was it that
at
game?
home 2-0.
2-0.
What, they lost?
Yeah.
When? In the
Beat 'em
league?
in
Everton.
the league. Yeah, Everton beat them 2-0.
Everton beat them
Second
2-0.
game of the
Just
season.
so focused on
Second
Arsenal.
home, second home
or
game.
third? Yeah, second home game.
Second
of the
home
season.
game of the season.
Yeah, I meant their second
yeah.
loss or their third loss. I'll just move on from my comment. Let's just strike that,
Don't
shall
worry.
we?
There has
Hold on,
been
it's
some
that
losses.
beer. It's that beer you're drinking.
Yeah, it's that beer. You need to slow down, Soph. It's going straight to your head.
Some people are suggesting that I've just filled the bugger up with vodka. It's
Vodka.
like, Jesus. No.
You've done that
I don't
before,
hide
though.
that.
You've done that
of course I
before.
have. I don't hide that stuff, do I, Kev? I'm
No,
very
you're good like that.
okay, so let's see. Someone was asking earlier, and I wanted to ask you guys this. Thanks, Wesbird, by the way. They're asking about if Arteta does stick with Xhaka and we don't do well. Is Xhaka the type of player that could get Arteta fired? I don't think so, because I think there's a grander plan in place. But what do you think, Kev, in a nutshell?
Look, I just think it would be a real bad move for Mikel Arteta. Real bad move. I'm not saying he's won over everybody, but I think what people have taken a foot off the accelerator a little, and they're slowing down a bit and saying, okay, let's see what this team can do. And the performances ain't been great, Sophie. But you know, my saying is, winning cures all. Winning, when you're winning, people are more lenient. People would more listen and watch and look at what's going on. And I think this is a real backward step if he put Xhaka straight in. I'd much rather, I don't mind Xhaka being on the bench, but Sambi, there's no way Xhaka comes in before Sambi. No way. Mm-hmm. And if he does, that's a real backward step.
Agree with you, Kev. All right, over 500 of you in live chat. Next question up, but before that, Kev, I'm going to bring out this 500 in live chat. Tell them how many likes you need, Kev.
I need half. I need 250. I need 250. Hit it, Vinny. Go on, son. Hit it. We need him with a bow tie on. We need him with a bow tie on. Listen,
we'll get Matthew
and
to
here's
do
the
another
other
one.
thing, Soph. Here's the other thing. In fact, you know what? I don't want half. I want minimum 275. Because it's
like
North
it.
London Derby.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the Derby weekend coming up. Come on, Gooners. Come on, Squaddies. Eat
Absolutely.
it.
Just let Kev do the bouncer work here. Josh, what do you think about this from Kolawoli? Do Spurs have a better starting 11 than us?
No, never, ever. Irrespective of the lineup, Spurs will never have a better starting 11 than Arsenal. Yeah, I don't really think even in a tactical sense that squad is better than the squad we've got, to be honest. Obviously, there's a huge amount of bias in there. And if we ask our Spurs supporting friend in the box, he'll probably say completely the opposite. But yeah, for me, I think we've got a stronger squad. I think our problem has been in previous seasons that we kind of lost our way. And there's been players, whilst we were talking about Xhaka's one of those players that I don't think is actively trying to get Mikel to fail. I think his actions are then one of those that leads to Mikel failing. Not like we've seen with other players that were disruptive within the camp and were bringing the squad down. I don't think we get that from Xhaka. Xhaka's just, he lets himself down, which then lets Arsenal down, rather than he's actively, playing dodgy passes or he's actively letting his man go. I think everything he's doing is just a bad performance rather than what we've seen. I'm thinking back, I'm thinking to like Emery's last game, against Eintracht Frankfurt, and there was a point where I think Socrates basically rolled out the red carpet for the I can't remember the player now, Kamada, I think, to score that goal to seal the turnaround win for them. That was kind of actively trying to get rid of a manager. I don't see the same from Xhaka.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what Kev said too, it's like we seem to have turned a corner, and like you said, not everyone who's been Arteta out or been critical of Arteta, and I've been critical of Arteta, keep going in this direction, keep getting these results, and we don't care if they're 1-0s. This is what matters. This is what counts. Don't take step backwards when you've gone so far forward from January and getting rid of that clique, and then moving on in the summer and bringing in these new players and exciting players like Sambi and Tavares and Ben White and Tomiyasu and Ramsdale especially.
That's the other question, Soph. Remember, the German journalist said, Mikel Arteta said to Leno, he's going to start this game. Now, that is another really bad move as far as I'm concerned.
That would be a bad move, Kev.
What do the squaddies think? Because what do you think, Josh? Because let's be honest, Josh. You said Leno was your number one, didn't you? You said Leno was your number one. And what do you think now, mate?
It's interesting because I'm thinking about, I've seen Ramsdale now in the Arsenal team a lot more than I had expected to see in him by now. And it was perhaps sitting on Leno as best of the devil, What I can see from what Ramsdale brings to our back four, rather than, Sheffield United and Bournemouth's back fours, is that kind of commanding of the area, that more aggressive style of keeping. And I've got it in my notes. I'm going to throw back to another great North London derby moment. Remember Wojciech Szczesny against Gareth Bale? There's a wonderful routine where he would just leave a little bit in on Gareth Bale. Everything he do, just that kind of gamesmanship. That's the stuff you want to see in a North London derby, of just the edge. I've caught this goal. Yeah, that little edge, that little bit of spikiness. I don't see that from Leno. I think you see that from Ramsdale. That kind of thing. Harry Kane goes up for a header. Ramsdale knows he's going to take the man, and gives him a knee. He's getting something in there. And Kev, you've played the game. I've played Sunday League. I know the skullduggery that goes on in that corner area when the ball's up in the air, or even when the goalkeeper's taking a goal kick. When the ball's up in the air, the referee's watching it sail over. What you want to be watching is what that centre back's doing to that striker, because nobody else is spotting it.
Or the other way round, Josh. Or the other way round.
Or the other way round.
I think there'll be... I think just because some people are expecting Xhaka to start, Kev and Josh, I think there'll be more uproar if he starts Leno over Ramsdale now than Xhaka, because people are expecting the Xhaka move.
Do you think so, Sophie? I think.
No.
There's a lot of turning that some people have got to do on their thoughts of Ramsdale before they come round and get annoyed that he's been dropped.
You reckon?
I think. Yeah, there's a lot of backpedaling that a lot of the Arsenal fan base need to do before they'd get annoyed at the decision that Leno comes back in.
Sophie, Josh, what I will say is this. I would say, because Ramsdale he's made, let's be honest, he's helped the back four look a lot better, hasn't he? He's helped the back four look a lot better and more solid. So if he got dropped here, I think people would be like, what's going on? But if Xhaka to come out of nowhere, especially after that Man City debacle, to come out of nowhere and just go straight back in the team. So if I've got to disagree with you on that, my darling, I think... I really think the fan base would really going to melt down.
I totally hear you. I just think because they might be expecting it, like Ramsdale being an enforcer as well. That scene, that picture of when Tierney was on the floor and him and Gabriel, like, don't touch our boy. You know what I mean? And he has that swagger for sure, as Texas Gunner is saying.
Ramsdale's playing.
I think so. I think so too. I had a question up here and I lost it now, but it was for both of you. Someone asking who's the better manager, Nuno or Mikel? It's actually a good question based on the fact Nuno has that history. You know, he's been a number 2 for one of the best. Did a great job at Wolves. Arteta's won an FA Cup. Who do you
Arteta
think?
was number 2 for the best.
Maybe he hasn't. Well, I would say, is he the best? I don't think he's until he wins the Champions League with City. I don't think he's the best. I think Mourinho is better than him still.
Well, that's debatable, isn't it? Let's be
honest.
honest.
Course.
You could really have a debate about that one. But hey, listen, Arteta's better than Nuno. And don't forget, and here's the reason why. Going into Spurs don't have any of the issues that Arsenal have or have had. None. And even though there's been trials and tribulations, Sophie, he still won a trophy. This is something we cannot take away from Mikel Arteta. He has won a trophy, and I'm not saying he's the best manager ever, because he isn't. But you know what? I would take him over Nuno. And here's the other thing that was leveled at us, and you mentioned it after we lost against, I think it was Chelsea, Sophie. Nuno goes in at Spurs, and look, he's already got them playing in a style and got them winning games and doing this and doing that. You remember?
Well, he did have, yeah,
No,
he did.
no, but isn't that just football? That is just football, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he sparked something in them. And look, Kev, ever since Kane's been back,
are they?
No, I know, but I would love the Tottenham fans who are in chat to let us know what they think. And also, we got our special guest on Friday on the Tottenham side who's going to let us know what he thinks. And maybe Josh, you can jump into this one too. But since Kane has come back, notice I almost said something else.
Yeah. See you next Tuesday. See you next Tuesday. There's vodka in that. No,
it can never be vodka. Look, I'll prove it. You can't do vodka like this.
Yeah, I've seen you. No. I've seen you've done.
It's a bit of soda
with
water
a straight face. But since he's been back, there's not that vibe that they had against City. There's not that vibe in those early games. I mean, and he looks depressed and he's got all kinds of issues. And of course, like I said, he'll probably be a rock star, Josh, at the weekend. But there's definitely something there to it. And I do think that sometimes it's like United, if they're not careful, they want to keep squeezing Ronaldo in, right? Squeeze Ronaldo in. I'm not saying he's not going to work versus he is going to work, but sometimes, these things do happen, don't they?
Can I have my 15 to 20 minute rant about Harry Kane after the North London derby, please? Because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to jinx him into form.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Don't do it.
I'm going to say nothing. But I have been on an England-style rant about Harry Kane. And I don't want to mention too much on it because I know what I'll do. But as you mentioned and you alluded to, he's come back into the squad and they haven't looked the same because it's not always about the sum of your parts. Is sometimes it's greater when you haven't got that star player in there, that haven't got that focal point. And I think that's the same with Spurs as well. As we've been mentioning, we're more scared about Son than we are about Harry Kane right now. And I think that's damning across from a Spurs point of view.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's finished. I think basically what's happened
maybe they
is
mean at Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, look, you've got to. You cannot tell me. Like, there's been a time where it's down to me and someone to get a job, right? And a big job, say at MGM or wherever, and I lose out. I'm gutted. I'm disappointed, man. I'm going for that job for a reason. He made it clear he wanted to move to City for a reason. And when that doesn't happen, and you're going back to an environment that you're done with, as a player, Kev, that's not easy, is it? I don't care if it's Kane or whatever. I mean, I actually feel that Kane deserves to go off to another team with better prospects to win trophies because, let's be honest, it tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth. He's a fantastic player.
He's a great goal scorer. He's England captain and he's been a talisman for Spurs. And without him, I don't know where they would have been.
Relegated.
And you look at... you look at the big picture there. Harry Kane has done his time there. And I know a lot of Spurs fans who said, we wish him well. We wish Harry Kane well, because he's done his time and we couldn't get over the line. The fact of the matter is, Daniel Levy strikes again.
Yeah.
When really they could have got the money and strengthened, really strengthened. They strengthened a bit. He dug his heels in to prove that he's the man. And now he's got half a Harry Kane, really. Harry Kane will. He's not saying he's not going to try, but things are never the same. Once somebody undercuts you, Sophie, somebody promises you, we'll do this, do that, and then they undercut you and they leave you, things will never be the same. Never.
It's an amateurish contract, Kev. Never in today's game, never a gentleman's agreement. Have your
Sophie,
clause in.
Sophie,
Yeah.
Let me just tell you this. You undercut the England captain. Yeah, you may win the battle, but you will not win the war.
No, he'll and Kev, you
Let
bring
me
up.
tell you that. Let me tell you that.
That's
He
a
made
good
a
point.
bad move. Levy made a bad move on this one. Tell you.
Yeah. And I keep saying, I bet he will score at the weekend. He loves scoring against us. But I think now when you see City struggling, Josh, as well, I think there's a chance that in January that deal's happening. Pep's like, just make this happen. I need a goal scorer.
Yeah.
And so, that's the biggest challenge for them. Right. We're going to get you out on this. Kev's got another show after this. Josh, another fantastic presentation. Nothing controversial today. You're going to save your Harry Kane rant for next week instead.
Oh, then I'm
Very
going to ask him
smart.
a question. Is he
Go on,
still
Kev.
selling Thomas Partey?
Oof. Not this week, Kev. Not
All
this
right,
week.
all right. Okay. Love that, Josh. Love it.
He's keeping him this week, Kev.
love
that. He's
He's keeping him. Right, let's get some predictions in. We're gonna obviously be back for a double bill tomorrow. It is North London Derby weekend. Josh, I feel like we've got some players. I feel like we've got a vibe. Come on, Ben White, do well. We're rooting for the boys. We're rooting for these kids if they come in and play. Obviously, they look a little bit older than that now.
I hope so.
Let's hope the Edu and Arteta train of signings and results continues. We're all behind the squad and the team. Josh, what is your prediction for this weekend? Is this guy going to shine? Are we going to see a little bit more of this? And the Arsenal fans will come out in their droves to support. Let's make it a cauldron, people. Come on, Josh. What's the score?
I'm going to go, and I said I didn't do predictions last week, but I'm going to go in with one. 3-1 no Arsenal. That's what I'm going with. 3-1.
Did you steal Tammy's homework?
I promise I didn't.
Oh,
I'm feeling it too. Kev, are you going to give your prediction today or tomorrow?
No, I could give it today and tomorrow. It's fine for me.
Let's do it.
I think Arsenal going to win the game 2-1. 2-1.
Lots of 2-1 predictions in the chat. 3-1s, 3-0s, 1-0. I
I tell
fancy
you
a
what I will
3-1.
take, Sophie. I tell you what I will take. I'll take a 1-0 win as well. I would take
I would take that.
1-0 to the Arsenal. Another clean sheet I would take.
I will take it coming off Aubameyang's head, landing on Laka's groin, and then going off Saka's knee. And then finally, someone gets their toe in and it hits the post and the other post and then crawls over the line, Kev. I'll take that as well.
Listen, however they score, as long as it goes over the line, no problem.
No
But
problem.
I would take a 1-0 to the Arsenal again.
Brilliant stuff. And you know what? You know what else? These are the games where legends and cult heroes are made. Cult heroes. Lucas Torreira will forever be a cult hero for that moment in that 4-2. Who wants to be the hero? Who wants to become a cult hero? I'm going to put a cheeky bet on Thomas Partey getting his first goal for the Gunners.
Well, that will be.
This is why you've got to control me, Kev. Don't let me get
special. That will be
control.
special.
All right, Josh. Anything else you want to add before we let everyone go?
I think just final thoughts of we had a decent game against them last time. We're not talking about pre-season. We're talking proper in the season. Odegaard, I believe that was his first goal he got for Arsenal was in that game, and that kind of sparked his season. We saw the free kick he got against Burnley as well last week. I think this is a game. He's the guy. He's Soph's cult hero who's going to become a legend. I think Thomas Rosicky, light. That's what we're seeing right now. And that's what I'm going to put him to the mantle to become the next Super Tom.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Right, that's it. That's the tactical squad over with. Handing it over to Super Kev to close the show. We'll see you tomorrow. We have an early broadcast at 3 p.m. UK time, 7 a.m. in the United States. And we're going to put that out later on, and you'll know what that's about. And then following on from that, we're going to go back to our usual time slot of noon Pacific, 8 o'clock UK for Kevin Says. So 2 shows tomorrow in the build-up to the North London Derby. Kev, it's over to you.
Well, I'm looking forward to the 2 shows. Josh, thank you so much for the tactical show. 2 good teams. Very good insight into what's going on. And I'm pleased you put Ramsdale in. I've got to say that. I'm very pleased you put Ramsdale in. So thanks again, Josh. Very good. Sophie, host with the most, as always, in your retro Arsenal top. I like it.
Thank you.
I must say, I do like it. And
Thank you, Super Kev.
As always fantastic, always engaging, and always quality. So squaddies, you know what's coming. We salute you. And at ease, squaddies.
Pop over to Lee Judge's channel if you want to see Kev a little bit more. Bye.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.